What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the second album by rapper Daniac. Basically, this product is called Rock Bottom Set in Stone, and it came out in the late fall of 2016. So I look after this particular product. Daniac is an underground rapper, and I looked after the pitch behind it. He has at least 4,000 monthly Spotify listeners as far as those pitches kind of happen, so he's more low-key just within that aspect. Jackal Goldkick has showed me some songs by this cat in the past. I wanted to get to some of these type albums by him to see what he's kind of about. I may eventually post like the messenger message of one of the songs I had thoughts about 3 years ago when Jackal Goldkick showed me some of that as far as those pitches kind of happened. But that particular song was off this album, Rock Bottom Set in Stone, so I wanted to get towards it. Pretty excellent type pitch here. Basically, he has a lot of similarities to Tech N9ne. I'd have to say it's an excellent type concept to be able to see that in particular as far as that would kind of happen. I look after there's not a ton of rappers that kind of have those particular pitches. There are folks that are like, you would say Eminem similar and pitches like that. Someone similar to Drake and Lil Wayne, some of those type folks. But it's an excellent type pitch. It's an excellent type pitch. Going to get some folks similar to Tech N9ne. I appreciate the aspect of this particular product. This is damn near a classic here. I just would have to go ahead and say, out of 8 songs, I wound up recommending 7. So the only real song I don't recommend in any fashion would just be the song I Can't Speak. But basically every other song on this product is top-notch, high-grade as hell as far as those pitches kind of happen. I look after it. But basically, back to the backdrop about this particular cat. So he's a rapper from Canada, just within those pitches. It's unfortunate that he doesn't have more than 3 albums as far as that particular fare kind of goes along with it. But he has been dropping singles steadily along as far as those pitches kind of happen. Now, in the past, I did briefly cross paths with Daniac on Jackal Goldkick's YouTube as far as those pitches kind of happen. He said he was working on an album as far as that particular kind of went. It'll be interesting to kind of see if we do get some more products from him as far as that would kind of happen. Just kind of look after it. But, you know, just judging by the blistering quality of this particular product makes me question how the other 2 albums are going to wind up being. So the album cover for A Dose of Daniac and then the other one for Outside Looking In look pretty interesting just within the tone. So it's an interesting type fare to be able to get to some of these. But it's a good concept here. Like I said, there's not a ton of information. Is full-blown. He's more low-key type rapper, but it is an interesting type concept that he probably just has some good poundiness. So this is a pretty haunting type album, just to go ahead and say, just judging by the album cover, I think you can tell within the ghastliness of it, but it really boils that down to like the real core of it. This is pretty much like a 2010s horrorcore type album just within the pitch behind it. I like the aspect of being able to get towards some of this just within the tone behind it. There's some guest rappers on here, like E the Rapper and Dubs and Gruesome and some folks like that, just being able to say just within the relative pitch behind it. This is pretty trendy for 2016, just being able to say the similarities to Tech N9ne are definitely on here, which is a pretty excellent type pitch. Has similarities to like KOD Tech N9ne and Killer Tech N9ne from 2008, some of those type fares, and I'd probably say like Welcome to Strangeland, some of those type pitches. Just an excellent type concept to be able to get to some of this. It's an excellent type concept to be able to get to some of this, and this has some overall ghastly type of appeal about it. So I just would have to say there were 3 singles off this particular product, which is pretty excellent type fare, just being able to say that. The music videos for this product were Monsters, Lose My Mind Part 2, and then Out the Blue, I'd have to say. So it's an excellent type pitch to be able to get to some of these. So I'll basically just go ahead and talk. Basically all three of these songs I recommend. So I'll go ahead and talk about the singles as far as those pitches kind of happen. So basically Monsters is like a gothic and kind of ghastly. Basically Monsters is a quality one. This is the song that Jackal Goldkick showed me 3 years ago that I'll eventually post. That might eventually post the messenger message from. This like a gothic and kind of ghastly, personable tune, I'd have to say here. Excellent Tech N9ne flavor to kind of get, and it's like a great ode to like the monster drink, I'd have to say. It really has like the twinkling type of appeal. This really reminds me of like a leftover cut from like Tech N9ne's KOD, some pitches like that, to some of that typical kind of Tech N9ne, like his more horrorcore type tone type pitch. Feels like all 6s and 7s and KOD type Tech N9ne as far as those pitches kind of happen. So yeah, Monsters is basically a pretty ghastly type one to kind of get here. Just typical kind of Welcome to Strangeland and all 6s and 7s type Tech N9ne as far as those pitches kind of happen. But Daniac does a great job with this particular one. Just the aspect behind it, just really some great underground rap and just overall horrorcore just within the pitch behind it. But it's basically about the monster drink song and just monsters and just like the concept of demons as far as those pitches kind of happen. Real excellent type concept to kind of blend those. For the most part, you don't commonly get songs just talking about energy drinks or something like that. I realized that this is a very refreshing song in like these more health prone type times, I'd have to say in particular. But this is probably back when things were a little bit more frivolous just within the aspect behind it. But this is an excellent type one to kind of get here. I do appreciate the aspect behind it, the music video. I think I want to say I remember like watching the music video several years ago, but it's kind of within the aspect that I do like the song quite a bit. Just being able to say the music video is pretty excellent too, but just within the pitch. So great single, nice clever type one, has Tech N9ne similarities and nails it pretty damn well. Lose My Mind Part 2 is another music video slash single. I'd say it's like a shrill kind of night menace of a song. I'd say it's like a jittery and kind of manic ruminating of a song to kind of get here. Definitely some lyrical damage about this one. It's like a great fall brush to kind of get as far as that pitch kind of happens. Some great autumn discs, some great shrillness just to be able to have. This just reminds me of something that Brother Lynch and like his crazier type moments when he's more like knife centric and pitches like that, or Tech N9ne when he gets real shrill and crazy just within the aspect behind it. This really an aspect. This makes me wonder if Daniac could almost be like a juggalo type rapper. I question whether or not he'd be within that field, but there's definitely some similarities to where he probably could be at a gathering or two just within the aspects behind it. This is some excellent type stuff. 2 for 2 with like the singles here as far as those pitches kind of happen. This is a real excellent type one. The thing about this particular album is the fact that it does kind of have like some club centric type stuff, but it's just more in the aspect of this. It's just kind of more in the aspect of this horror bound as far as those pitches will kind of happen with it. I feel like at least Monsters would be a nice one to kind of hear for like some night creeping pitches like that, and then Lose My Mind Part 2 is like a more manic kind of get crazy kind of Friday the 13th or Freddy Krueger type stuff. So, you know, just Nightmare on Elm Street type craziness as far as those pitches kind of happen. And then Out the Blue is the third music video slash single. So this is like a ghostly kind of out and about kind of malaised and dusky confusion of a song to kind of get here. Definitely some nice rumination. It's a great one to have for during a head. It's definitely some great rumination kind of have during a head trip, I'd have to say. So it's just an excellent type pitch to be able to have just within that tone. I look after it. It's the overall aspect of just being able to say this one's just a very trippy type one. It's just kind of one of those type ones where Tech N9ne, if you just were looking for similarities towards it, if you just think of like a Tech N9ne song where he's had too much to smoke for that day, some pitches like that where he's really kind of tripping out of his mind, just a real schizo type song to be able to have. This is a pretty nice one for that. But yeah, this is definitely a pretty blisteringly excellent type EP or slash mixtape album to kind of get here. Now there's numerous. It has the songs of an EP, but in like the playlist description, Daniac says it's a mixtape, but it's also seen as like an album for sale, so it's just kind of within the pitch. Just a project, just being able to say, I'm just going to refer to it as an album, but I look after the pitch behind it. It's a pretty excellent type one. So just being able to say here, basically recommend every song off this product minus the song I Can't Speak. So to talk about that one, there are 2 kind of radio grabs on here as far as those pitches going to happen. A little bit more pop centric type ones for like horror tones as far as those pitches going to happen. I feel like one of which would be Nothing I Can Do, but the other one would be I Can't Speak. But basically I feel like I Can't Speak is just a little bit more of a soul searching type one that just didn't nail it nearly as well. They have similar type productions. I Can't Speak and Nothing I Can't Speak and Nothing I Can Do, but Nothing I Can Do just pulls out the interest taste of it just a lot better just within the tone behind it. But it's just kind of they both have the stellar enough type pop grabs to kind of get. But yeah, I just question the oftenness of how I feel like probably I Can't Speak is just a little bit more of a starry type one for like more soul searching just within the tone behind it. But definitely talk about Nothing I Can Do. This is a real nice one here. This is like basically like a horrorcore pop rap kind of sparkle of a song to kind of get. Just reminds me of Leave Me Alone by Tech N9ne from his KOD days, and this is definitely like some makeshift Traverse to kind of get here. So this is kind of like some day-to-day type fare when you think of folks like Blueprint 3 by Jay-Z. When you think of like 2010's dynamite albums that set trends like Blueprint 3 by Jay-Z and Eminem's Recovery, some of those type ones, and even all sixes and 7s by Tech N9ne. These are just some ones that kind of had the aspect of this kind of, this comes off as more of like a horrorcore kind of pop grab just to be able to get within the aspect. But I do like the concept of trying to bring horrorcore to like the more commercial type market. Just the attempt behind it, it works pretty damn well, and this is an excellent type one to kind of have for some radio appeal, just like makeshift Traverse and just kind of that blue collar type dredge of just the aspect, especially in like September, October pitches like that. This whole album, like the album covers, is pretty damn haunting just within the pitch. I just really relishes in that and nails it pretty well. I Never Feel Lonely is a pretty highlighted one. Now this is the only song on Spotify that has over 1,000 plays that I'd say was still an excellent type pitch. It's definitely worthy of like the damn near 10,000 hits that it has. It's like a glittery kind of night venue creeping of a song to kind of get here. Definitely some emphatic kind of horror rap, and this reminds me of Tech N9ne KOD, and this is pretty good goth bop to kind of get. This one probably has one of the most pounding type ones. This is just a very oozing and just kind of slithering type one that just has a lot of creep type factor about it. I really like the aspects behind it. This is a great one to kind of get some guest rappers on as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's a real nice posse song to be able to have, and some excellent type fare, just like the standard kind of ghastly typeness. There aren't too many, and this one just feels like a horror movie just within the aspects of something you'd see out of like a Stephen King movie or something, that relative type fare to something where the villain's kind of creeping up on you, something like that. It's just a good overall aspect, kind of get some of this, and it has the Tech N9ne has the Tech N9ne similarities pitches like that, so it's an excellent tone that Daniac nails upon here. Lost in the Moment's a quality one as well. It's like an in-between kind of night sauntering song to kind of get. It's like some local commute and snack run. It's like some local commute and snack run type stuff to kind of get here, and this has like a creepy flavor, and it's a good one to smoke one too. So yeah, Lost in the Moment is just some excellent kind of demon time type traverse just within the pitch behind it. This one goes relatively well with Nothing I Can Do, just a little bit more ground level and just more local commute just within the pitch. I feel like this one's less car bound, but still a good aspect, just being able to say just within the tone of just gas station snack run, some of that type fare as far as that kind of goes. But it's a real excellent type pitch. Just kind of more, it's more Tech N9ne than 3-6 Mafia, but it is an excellent type pitch just to get some of that creepiness. Just a real nice one. And then another one that's nice on here is Release. This is like a brooding kind of autumn anguish, I'd have to say. Real personal kind of outing in like the brisk air to kind of get. It's like a nice gothic kind of glimmer about this one. This is just a great inward type song. So this is the sort of song that like Eminem and Tech N9ne, Hops, and some of these type folks kind of do that they're excellently good at just within the pitch. Folks like Dax and some of those types of people, NF, some of those type folks, they just nail it real extremely well. It's excellent to see that Daniac can do this sort of style as well. Yeah, this is just a nice personal type track to kind of get for like a posse song as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just really appreciate the feel behind it. It's another creeping type one to kind of have good powwow type music, smoke in the backyard, some pitches like that. Just good kind of group, group local snack run pitches like that, smoke on the way, get some Taco Bell, some of those type fares as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just some excellent typeness to just kind of get. Just look after the tone behind it. That's the pitch behind this particular album here. So basically me recommending 7 songs. I'm not sure if there were any other songs I didn't talk about on here. I want to say I talked about the 3 singles. I talked about Lost in the Moment, Nothing I Can Do, Release, and I want to say like I Never Feel Lonely. I talked about those. So this within the pitch behind it. So yeah, this album gets like a 9.25 out of 10, 7 out of 8. It's pretty damn excellent just within the pitch behind it. The social score is going to get a 10 out of 10. I just look after the tone. Now the social score is going to actually get like a 9.75 out of 10. There's a couple natches to this project just in particular. For one thing, it did have the promotion, which is pretty dope, but he's just more low-key within the sense. You have to kind of know the correct songs to kind of display and stuff. Social score is going to get a 9.75 out of 10. I look after it. He's a low-key type rapper. It's kind of more within the bounds where it's a lot more underground just within the sense, it's just kind of more like trying to recommend folks like Big Scoob or Joe Cool, some of those type of folks, just within the aspect of more Tech N9ne type bound type folks. They're going to be super low-key just within the aspect. It's just not super commonplace when you try to recommend folks like Cut Calhoun or Big Scoob or some of those type of folks. Other folks like Stevie Stone just within some of those type pitches, but I definitely like the aspect just behind it. There were 3 singles which are pretty excellent. This is a damn well excellent type project to kind of get here. Very blistering just within the aspect. A real kind of classic horrorcore album. I'll just go ahead and say it's an internet rap classic just within the aspect of like 2010s horrorcore that nails it. This is up there with Tech N9ne, KOD, all 6s and 7s. Some of those type ones, Welcome to Strange Land. Just being able to say as far as those aspects kind of happen. It's just kind of the concept between Daniac not really having more than just these 3 albums, and then on top of that, just kind of the fact that it's just kind of a lot more low-key just within the tone. I don't want to say it has like a full-blown learning curve, but it might just within the aspect if folks you're with are not as full-blown trying to listen to folks that are way off like the orbit of like mainstream and commercial type fare. This is kind of within the concept that it does have some great songs on here within the aspect, but in terms of like a blistering kind of like this is the number one, like hey, this is hella good, this is the shit right here. It's just kind of the concept that it's not so much hardcore, but it might be in a more neighboring community of just saying that it just is a little bit more of like a kind of personable listen, I'd have to say. But it's not to say like it's foul. It's this excellent type fare. It definitely has some blistering quality, but it's just more hardcore within a relative sense. But in terms of the future, like Daniac, I guess a 9.75, so I don't think that I'm being slight about it. It's definitely pretty damn close to classic, but I look after it. In terms of the future, like Daniac has said that he's going to possibly put out some more stuff. We'll have to see about what happens with that. There are at least 2 more albums to kind of get to within the aspect behind it. This is a pretty blistering type one. Like I was saying, horrorcore classic, 2010s classic, damn near just within the pitch. Virtual 2010s classic, just within the aspect. This is very Tech N9ne similar. Has a lot of some of those best type moments. Daniac's a pretty quality lyricist. Just if I haven't talked about the lyricism of Daniac on here, just to be able to say he compiles these bars pretty well. He's just basically like the white Tech N9ne, just within the aspect behind it. He puts the bars together. Has some pretty good hooks on here, some stuff like that. Just being able to say a lot of this just has like it feels feels like he's a leftover from strange music as far as those tones can happen. This is just a good concept to be able to get a lot of these. It's the aspects behind this being a fun type project and an overall horrorcore just aspect that just has a lot of good ravenous kind of altitudes that just make it like blistering like so many other horrorcore projects that make it blistering like some of horrorcore's best moments, I'd say. So it's just a definite one that you want to invest in.